Welcome to the Bearded Finisher Podcast, your one-stop show for all things finishing and coatings. Your host, Zach, and a variety of industry experts will guide you through the art of perfecting your finishing and business game. From seasoned pros to fresh faces, get ready for tips, tricks, and trends to elevate your knowledge and business to the next level.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Bearded Finisher Podcast. Today's episode, we have got the ever-amazing Cait with Vintage by Cait up in Long Island, New York. What's going on, Cait?
How are you? I'm good.
I'm doing fantastic. So how's it going up there in New York? Are you guys staying? I see sweater. Does that mean it's cool up there?
It's starting to get cold, so it's like fall is coming. I'm very excited about it. I love my sweaters and hoodies.
90 here today. I don't think have it in any time in the near future.
I'm so excited when I go outside and I'm like, oh, it's cold. I can't wear shorts.
So my wife's the same way. It's like the other day, this weekend, she put a hoodie on and we were running around town and I'm like, babe, it's supposed to be like 90 today. And she's like, I'm wearing it anyways.
Just let me have this.
So let's kind of jump into it. Kind of let everybody know how you got started into the finishing industry, maybe what you did before that led into the cabinet refinishing, and just tell us about yourself.
So like you said, I'm from Long Island, New York. The way that I got into this was kind of like, it was kind of a fluke. So a couple years back, in 2017, I had moved up to Rochester, New York. I'm not sure if you're familiar with where that is, but it's literally like 45 minutes from Canada. So I went from all the way downstate to all the way upstate. And I moved for my boyfriend at the time's job. So when I moved up there, I was making money as a bartender on Long Island, and I moved up there thinking like, oh, it's still New York. I'll make the same amount of money. And I did not. So I literally decreased my income by like 3/4. And we had a nice house, and I wanted to obviously like furnish the house without spending a ton of money. So I had found this little store. It was like a cute little store. They sold chalk paint, and I said, oh, that's really cool. Like you could like take furniture and like whatever, paint it and make it nice again. So I started kind of researching that. I found a couple pieces off of the street just for free, or Facebook Marketplace for free. And I started painting them in my basement. And I really liked it. Long story short, we broke up. He moved away. I had my house to myself, and painting kind of just became like a therapy for me to like cope and whatever. So I turned my basement into a literal studio, and that's how I messed up so many projects. I messed up so much woodwork. That's literally like I learned how to do woodwork there by destroying things.
That's okay.
But that's literally, I think that's the only way to really learn how to do something, is do it wrong and figure out how to fix it. So then I lived there for like 2 years. I moved back home, and I had to go back to bartending because I'm also a medical esthetician by trade. I'm a laser technician.
Okay.
So yeah, I was doing, I was running a tattoo removal company upstate, which is like something I really love. And again, the money up there, cost of living up there isn't the same as down here.
Yeah.
So I had to go back to bartending, and then COVID hit, and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. So I started my business. It's Vintage Restored by Cait, and that's where the name comes from, because I know it doesn't really kind of make sense anymore. But yeah, I started my business, and in the interim of 1 and 2, a girlfriend of mine had asked me to paint her kitchen, and she's like, I think we could just chalk paint it. And I was so dumb. I literally said, okay, how much do you want to pay me?
But I mean, isn't that how most businesses start? And then you start finding out what it's worth.
Oh my gosh. Do you want to know how much I made?
How much?
Guess.
Guess. I mean, I would hope that it's more than like 1,000.
$500.
Five.
I said, oh my God, I was working 2 jobs day and night, and I would just go there at 11. I'm like, I could finish this in like 4 days. It took a month. It was like the worst experience of my entire life. Um, but when I started my business, I had put that picture on my Instagram page, like in my portfolio. Like, okay, I paint furniture mainly, but I did a kitchen too. So I got a call for my first professional kitchen, and I freaked out. Like, I was so afraid. Because one thing about me is like, I don't do confrontation. Like, I am not that person. I don't want to get a call back. I don't want anyone complaining. I don't want anybody mad at me ever. So I started doing so much research, like day and night. I was just reading, looking up YouTube videos, watching a ton of people that I, followed, like making notes on their videos and stuff. And that's how it happened.
I mean, YouTube U is one of the greatest things.
I swear.
I don't know if it was what they intended for it to be, but I mean, you can learn anything just by going down the rabbit hole of YouTube videos. It's insane.
Absolutely. And that's how it's just, sometimes I think like the other day, one of my mother's tenants was like, oh, I need to change a light bulb. I can't change my light bulb. And she's a girl. I was just like, well, look it up. You could do it.
So when did you officially start? I mean, like full time, no more. So you're full time now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when did you go full time into Vintage Restore by Cait?
Well, the beauty of it is that it was during COVID. So I was furloughed, and still, I was getting, unemployment checks at the time. And I did that for about a year solo. I went back for a little while to bartending. But basically, I was still doing furniture after that first kitchen. And I think it was my third kitchen. I got this accepted offer for a beautiful house, like in a gated community on the water. It's a town called Seaford over here. And it was gorgeous. It took me forever. It was enormous. But after I started posting that, like my phone just never stopped ringing for kitchens, and I couldn't do furniture anymore. So I think that was probably in probably late 2020.
Okay. So you've been going at it almost 3 years, almost 3 years full time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been wild.
I mean, it was a wild, COVID was a wild time to start businesses. I mean, there was a lot of money, but I mean, I think it's worked. Most of them that are still around, I would say from my years in business, 24, and I'm not sure how it's been for you, but I feel like all the stimulus money's gone, and 24 is like the first year that's like what pre-COVID was.
Mm-hmm.
That's
100%.
like that's what everyone was used to, was how it was pre-COVID. And now we're finally getting back to that. And I know some people have said, it's been a rough one, but we've made it. And that's why I'm like, if you can make it when all the money's gone, just stay on track. You're going to be golden.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's super interesting that you say that, because I don't know business pre-COVID. So I only know what I've, had, and I was getting, for a while, like some accepted offer, no questions. But I have noticed in the past like year or so, those offers aren't getting accepted anymore as quickly. So that's also something I would be interested to hear your viewpoint on it. But I've dropped my prices a little bit just to secure the work, because sometimes I see a project and my brain is more like design wise. Like I could see the forest through the trees, and sometimes I'll just be like, I really want to work on this for you, so how can we make this work? Not the best business model, but
I mean, the plus though that you have is you know, you don't have huge overhead. I mean, you don't have like a commercial space that you're renting. You don't have a bunch of employees to have to worry about paying W-2 on. I mean, so that is a definite benefit when you're a small business, is so you're more maneuverable. Like you can say, hey, I want this project. And just naturally women have that design, that eye for color and design that I would say like 98% of men just don't have. Naturally. I mean, there's some out there that do, but
yeah, for
naturally
sure.
it just comes. And that, having that passion definitely drives you through. So your cost of operation is a little lower. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think, because when times get tough, I mean, you've got to do what you got to do to make money. I mean, but still being able to do your passion. And to me, what the impressive thing is you're not quitting. You know,
Yeah, for sure.
you're adjusting. That to me is everything when it comes to entrepreneurship. Is all right, let's readjust. Maybe I do some more furniture, maybe I start doing that on the side to help with the kitchens, but I'm not going to quit.
Yeah, and that's, I'm sure it's with everybody too. It's like, I think that we all have those moments, like, we just want to rip our hair out and like, oh, what do
That's
we
just
do?
business
But
ownership in
I
general.
know, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I do, I think that's important too. Um, even though it's not maybe the price point that I want, it's not that much different. And I'd rather stay busy than wait for a bid for, a couple $1,000s more.
Yeah, I mean, my mentor when I first started would always say, I mean, you don't want to just want to keep dropping, but you want to almost change the pitch, is what I tell people to do a lot. Oh, we were going to do all this. If we need to scale it back, well, here is, an entry level and here's a premium. See, there's like options with it. We'll do full prep on both sides this way. But if you want to save a little money, we can do one coat of primer and one finish coat on the backs of all the doors.
That's interesting. That's a
And
great
then
idea.
do two on the front, because that's what most people are going to see. But that saves you a little bit of money to the end user, to the homeowner.
That's a great idea. I mean, it's great to offer that. And that's something that, like, again, like, I haven't been in this game for like too long. So everything has kind of just been learning on the fly. But yeah, that's a great idea in a sense of, trying to.
And same thing with product. I know it's not always fun, but having a single component that you can sell and say, hey, single component is a 7. I mean, my pitch was always, a 1K. If this isn't the forever house, then let's go with the 1K. It's a 7 to 10 year finish. If this is the house, then let's upgrade by X amount and let's do a 2K product that's going to be bulletproof. That's going to take you next 30 years and you're not going to have to redo your cabinets. That way you can kind of still get some of that stuff that might knock out quicker, like vanities or stuff like that, and not lose the business, but also not take too much of a hit on your side
Yeah, for
for
sure.
profitability. I was just thinking, you said bartending, and I used to bartend. I was a bartender
Bringing
at two
back bad
bars
memories.
and a bouncer. I worked security at a bar. I mean, I always had fun. It was before I got married. It's actually how I met my wife. She used to
Oh,
come into the
awesome.
bar all the time and tell me how bad her dates were. You know,
Oh, I love that story.
After about the 10th one, I was like, all right, I think I got this figured out. You want to go on a date?
That's awesome. I love that.
But I remember when we first started dating, I told her, I was thinking, it was in Oklahoma, is where I'm from, the town we were in, metropolitan and everything, maybe 1.1 million, maybe 1.2, very small considering. And I was like, man, I'm thinking about just selling everything and going to New York and try bartending and just see what happens. And she was like, really?
Don't do it.
And now the sound of this, the thought of that many people just makes my skin crawl, because we lived in North Dallas for 2 years, and I can't even stand that. That's too many people. And that's only like, I want to say 10 million in DFW.
Yeah, no, it's wild.
Now we don't even go out past 9 o'clock.
Oh my God, me too. I love being in bed by like 10. It's the best.
When we go out at night for something, like last night, my kids have a 7 and a 3-year-old, and it was open house night, and it was at 6:30. So we went out and got dinner afterwards, and got home when it was, the sun was down. And I was like, God, it's dark. Why is it so dark? It's not usually this dark. And she's like, no, you just usually don't leave. Well, yeah, I'll take that one.
Oh my God.
So gotta tell us about what you're offering now at Vintage Restore by Cait. Kind of just fill us in on the business. We kind of got to how you got there. So for those people that might be listening up in that area, kind of what you guys offer.
Yeah. So like right now I mainly do kitchens. But I kind of say like, I'm just an interior refinisher. I do whatever people ask me to do, honestly. And it's, some of them have been like a little crazy for me in general. But again, it's just, for me, I think that you could paint anything if you prep it the right way and if you go about your process the right way. So, I mean, obviously I'll do built-ins, bathroom vanities. I've done some doors, trim work, wainscoting. I did an exterior doors. I did a huge 3-car garage once, which was wild.
I think I remember that one.
Yeah.
I think when I was at CIC, Centurion, and you hit me up about some tile, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I use the 1107. That's one thing. I paint backsplashes too. And again, it's just like, my design brain is kind of just takes over the financial sometimes. And again, back then it was horrible. So going back, if you don't mind, to that first huge kitchen I did, what was the backsplash before? It was like an orange terracotta backsplash. They had black countertops, and they wanted, I don't know if you're familiar with the color, but it was Benjamin Moore. I think we did Balboa Mist. So that's like a really neutral mid-tone gray. And I had offered them the price for the backsplash, and they had originally said no. And I said, listen, you're going to hate it. Once I finish painting these cabinets, you are not going to want to walk into this kitchen. There's satin nickel hardware, great cabinets, and imagine having like a terracotta orange backsplash, because that wasn't in their budget to change it. So in that instance, I was like, all right, I'm just going to paint it for you, at no charge. And it ended up working out great. But again, I know it's not the easiest thing to do, or people don't think about doing that and think that it'll last. So I just wanted to make sure I had a solid foundation on there. So that's when I started using, I used obviously sanded it down like crazy with, low grit, 1 coat of sticks bonding. And then I would use the 1107 for a couple coats over the sticks before I did the color coat. And then I would do a couple clear coats.
And it held up and still looking good?
All of the backsplashes that I've done still look awesome.
That is again, amazing.
This is a couple years in. So again, it's that goes back, I don't want to call back. I don't want this, but that stuff has saved my life in so many instances.
Well, good. Are you still, so what are you using now? Are you still using the 1107?
I am actually, so I read the, TDS on the new, one, I don't know.
Oh, the 1111.
1111. Okay. I haven't heard anybody talk about it. But that's what I'm priming with now. And I'm using the, catalyst with it and the reducer, which I just started using too, which has helped a lot. But
You're spraying all HVLP or pressure pot, right?
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's been a headache at many points in time, but
It's a headache to learn, but the waste is so much less and you have so much more control
yeah, for sure.
that it's the only way. I mean, I usually always use HVLPs because that's what I like.
And that's the thing too. Everyone's like, why don't you shoot airless? Why don't you shoot airless? Because I don't want to charge my clients $800 in paint. Like I'm again, like my whole thing is also like beauty on a budget. So I'd rather take the time and again, like you said, like have that control and, you know.
I was always trained in the world of, and this is one thing that I tell guys that I coach and I mentor all the time, even when I was at CIC, like the way I was taught to finish was the best finish that you can provide with the least amount of coats. Because the heavier the paint, the more likely that it's going to crack, chip, or fail. Because it's a coating. And it's a refinish world. So you're always at the mercy of what's underneath it. So you want to go light coats. If you can do it in 3 to 4 mils, great. Sometimes it might take 5, 6 mils. But the whole system in that world. Water-based has changed things a little bit, but yeah, I was never a huge fan of airlesses because it's just like you're just putting so much paint.
Do you want to laugh? When I first started my business and going back to that ginormous kitchen, I'll send you a video after this or a picture just so you can like visualize. I don't even remember how many pieces it was, but I started my career with a handheld Graco sprayer. Can you even believe that?
Was it the plug-in one or?
Initially, it was the plug-in one. I think I must have blown up like 7 of those things, but I still have 2. But yeah, I think the first one was a plug-in one. I probably did that job with a plug-in one, and I think it died on there. And because I didn't know what I was doing. I let product catalyze in there. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm just going to buy a new one. But yeah, this giant kitchen I did with airless, and it's just like, I remember I literally learned on the fly. So I remember that kitchen, just like, oh my God, there's a sag. Oh my God, there's a sag. I don't know how to do this. What is this? And now it terrifies me. Like even the thought of airless and that much paint going on anything
So much
at that speed is so scary to me. So I'm slow. I know that. But I'd rather be slow and not have to deal with it.
As long as you're compensating for your time, it doesn't. I mean, that's irrelevant. I mean, when you get into the production work, a lot of people will say, but a nice HVLP or a turbine unit. I mean, I'll put out that fine mist, and you can build it to where you have the perfect amount of coverage without too much paint. I think it's just the right way to go.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's jump into like your social media. Like you have an amazing following.
Thank you.
I mean, that's amazing work. How did you do it? Like everyone's always asking me how you grow your audience.
Yeah, so it's a little different, and I've been really bad about it because like social media, I think for me sometimes it's like a double-edged sword. It's great, it's exposure, but also like sometimes it's mentally broke me down so many times.
I mean, the trolls are annoying.
Yeah, and it's hard to like sometimes not let that get to you. Right now, it really doesn't bother me anymore, but again, in the beginning, it was a lot. But also, when I first started growing, I had Instagram's a lot different now, and I'm sure and there's, if you go to, I think I think the tag is just creators, and it's Instagram's creators, whatever, it's their account where they tell you like what they're looking for, when it comes to growing. So back then, this is going, not like it was forever ago, but this is probably like 2-3 years ago. They wanted to see consistency. So you could boost your audience by being consistent. Posting, sometimes I would post 3 times a day, but at least twice a day, once or twice a day, posting stories every day. Creating quality content too is a big thing. So again, thinking about like what people want to see. And I second guess myself a lot when it comes to content because, like, again, I'm kind of new. I'm fairly new in this world. So it's like I'm talking about things, sometimes speaking to like furniture refinishers. So I have a lot of furniture refinishers that kind of follow me. And that I'll try to, give advice to, or who are breaking into that world. But then there's also, the people like you who are, professional refinishers. And I'm just like, I don't know if I want to say this because it sounds stupid. People are going to look at me like, yeah, I know that. But yeah, I think just trying to figure out what people like, engaging your audience. But I will say, I was doing that for a while, and it's a whole nother full-time job, social media,
Oh my gosh.
As you know.
Yeah.
And I haven't been as good as I used to lately, but I'm trying to kick myself to go back. But it's funny, I would grow, at a decent rate, like, I don't even know the numbers, but it was steady. I think I was probably at like 6,000 followers until I posted one video that literally changed everything. One video.
How do you know what that is? I've been trying to figure out that algorithm.
I will tell you what it was.
Okay.
It was Benjamin Moore Jet Blue. Look that color up. I posted like a simple video of me spraying a couple doors with like an air assisted airless. It was a 30 sheen. It was stunning, gorgeous. And exploded. I remember that day, every time I opened Instagram, it was like 100 new followers, 100 new comments, 100 new followers. And I was just like, what is going on? It was terrifying.
Well, it's like you start watching the video back and you're like, did I do something wrong? Well, like, why is this video taking off?
I have to find it. Like I have to scroll back and find it. But the engagement on it was crazy. And I think a blue door just hits a little different than a white door, So
I'm posting my stuff for the content for the podcast, and I have a couple other pages that I manage that have to do with finishing, and I have another business that I manage that one. But I just found this reel just recently, probably less than 30 days ago. And it was of some TV show of some guys in New York. So it's a car show. It's a reality show. And they're arguing, like full on arguing about sitting down to eat a pizza. And one guy reached to the other side when they're sharing a pizza and took a slice. I mean, it's like an all out war. And I just remixed it and put like an emoji of me laughing. Like 750,000 views. It's taken my engagement to up over 500,000. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
Why that over all the content? And it averages around 5,000, 10,000. I'm like, why is that one going to 500,000?
Yeah. And that's the thing with Instagram is like they're forever changing. And that's why that content creators page is so important. So yeah, I'll try to send it to you or find it. But now Instagram is looking for engagement. So from what I understand, I don't know if you've seen like the reels that go viral. They're literally like 3 to 4 second clips with captions this long, because those 3 to 4 second clips right now are going to keep going on a loop to that song. But you have this long caption where the reader has to scroll and they're staying on your post for a longer period of time. So your engagement is up. And people's retention span is so small. Like, I send people things. I know you're not going to sit through 30 seconds of a video unless you're a refinisher. Like, you want to kind of get to the point, like, as a homeowner too, as someone who's scrolling, like, it's like the growth of TikTok too. It's just like people doing a dance for a couple seconds and it's the best thing in the world. So people's retention for consuming content is very short. So by posting those shorter reels, but giving people more to read, that's going to boost your engagement. Posting stories every day, that's going to boost your engagement. I don't know if you see on my page sometimes, like, I'll do like the little, like, the love, like, do you like this or not bar. That's engagement. You're engaging with your audience. You're keeping people on your page more. Like, sometimes even asking questions, or I'll do polls a lot, mainly because I'm unsure of myself, but I'll do like yes, no polls. Again, it's just, that's something where you can get that person involved. But as far as I understand right now, I don't think that it's just reels that they're trying to boost, because back then when my engagement started growing, they were literally just looking for engagement on reels to compete with TikTok.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when Instagram created like incentives to boost creators to post on Instagram versus TikTok. But yeah, I could talk for hours on it. It's just, the algorithm is always changing. You never know what's going on. One day it could be one thing, the next day it could be something different. So now I think could even be like, now it's interesting what you can do, which I think is cool for us, like before and after wise. We could do posts with multiple pictures. So like before and afters with music. So I think that kind of changes things too. The music that's, today and now, that'll keep somebody engaged more. But sometimes I see these people with, like really, really, really long videos. And I'm like, just cut it down a little, cut it down, because you want people to see what you're posting.
Exactly. Even the minute long are even almost becoming questionable. I've been noticing the shorter ones, 30, 40 seconds, 10 seconds, they get better engagement than the ones that when you're pushing the 60-second limit on it. I mean, I follow this guy and I've implemented this here lately for like a couple months, and my engagement shot up because of that video, but it stayed up really high right now, but it's in a week, 14 reels a week. No, I'm sorry, 14 stories a week, 7 reels, and 2 posts.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that much, that's really helped. So I try to do like, all right, it's 2 stories a day minimum, 1 reel a day minimum. And then on 2 days a week, I make an actual post.
How many reels did you say you post?
14 a week. No, 7 reels a week, 7 reels
Okay.
a week, and 14 stories. So 2 stories a day minimum, 1 reel a day minimum, and then throw in a couple posts in there like every week. And then when you start doing that on, like right now I'm doing 3 pages.
Oh my God, you're busy. The thought of Instagram and like going like full time with that again stresses me out. So I don't know how you do that.
It is. It'll be, wife goes to bed, kids go to bed, and it's like, all right, I got to get a few more posts done or get them scheduled. Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's what people don't understand too, is like a business owner. And that's like something I had no idea what I was getting into. I damn near lost my mind when I first started doing this. I'm like, there's not enough hours in the day, but like people are like, what's so bad? You just paint stuff. I'm like, no, you have to, we're painting, we're problem solving, we're calling, we're booking. Instagram, I remember I was crazy. I did a job in New Jersey once and I was literally in traffic for 2 hours a day. And I don't condone this, but I'm in traffic coming home from Jersey, like half asleep, trying to edit an Instagram reel, almost getting into accidents. But I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this, but you have to do what you have to do sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I've done that once or twice, driving down the road, trying to get a video out. Yeah. I started listening to this audiobook, and this guy's talking about, and I'm trying to figure out how to implement it. But the concept behind it is how athletes and actors, how they block their time. So they have what's called show days. That's, where you're actually doing the show. And then they have free days, and their free days are nothing to do with work. And they have prep days. So they're practice, rehearsal, and they're getting ready. But you can do multiple things on rehearsal. You're just getting stuff ready for the show days. So this author talks about it into focus time and free time, and what does he call it? Basically prep days. But it's the whole day is nothing but that. So, if you have meetings, you schedule all your meetings for one day. And that day is just, go, 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 get it all done. And the day before that's prep, but the day after that is a free day. You can do whatever you want. Recovery day. You got to prep. You got to heal yourself from doing all that. And I've been doing it for like 2 weeks, and being able to focus a large amount of time on just doing meetings. I think like today, I still have 2 more meetings, whether the consults or podcasts. I had like 8 total today, just back to back to back to back to back to back. And then tomorrow, I don't do any recordings. And
you can kind of just breathe
and just kind of relax and do what I want to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of that recoup, because you as a business owner and an entrepreneur, if you don't build in, and he talks about how important the free time is what you schedule first. And everything works around that, because if you don't have that free time or recovery time, you will burn yourself out.
For sure. And I think that that's incredibly smart too, because it's like, even if you think like when I think anyone does kitchens, like a big thing for me is like task it out, don't pull one door and then take the hinges off that door and then put the hinges somewhere and put the door somewhere. Like for me, I've just found like success in like take all the doors off at once, done. Take all the hinges off, done, just going like that. So it's for a day where you're just doing one thing. I think it's probably a lot easier to stay focused on that one task than being all over the place and, meeting here, spraying there.
All right, I got 30 minutes. I can go spray this, but then I got to go to a meeting over here. It's like you never really accomplish anything at any level of success is kind of the point behind the theory. And I was like, man, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Wish I would have known that 10 years ago.
I know, but sometimes it's like, again, I'm sure you feel the same. It's like you have to get done whatever you have to get done, and you take any little piece of time that you can do that and try to do it. But that's something that like I feel like I learned too in this past year. Like I started taking Sundays for me. Like doesn't matter. I'm not really, as bad as it sounds, I'm not going to answer my phone for like work stuff. I want to clean my house. I want to recoup, get my life back together for the week ahead.
Sometimes you just want to hang out at home and watch movies all day. I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah. It's just, it is what it is, but it's just more so for me. Like everything is just kind of like crazy and chaotic and moving that, I'm just going to take that one day. And then it also took me like so long to realize I used to be a psychopath. If people didn't live in the house, I would be there, and they gave me carte blanche to just come and go whenever. I would be there from like 9 to 1 a.m. And it took me so long, and I wish I could like kick myself back then to realize like once you get to the point of tired, it gets to a point where you're not really accomplishing much anymore.
Yeah, you lose productivity pretty fast.
Oh, for sure. So you get lazy, start moving slower.
I was talking to DC the other day, at Clark Deck. Well, Assessa now. And he
Oh
was
yeah, I
just
know they
saying,
changed.
yeah, he was just saying that how he's, self-admitted, workaholic. And he's like, and I don't say that in a good way. Like, I need to stop working as much and go spend time with the kids or the family. How he grew Clark Deco and then they merged with Assessa. But there is a lot of truth to that. I mean, everyone talks about balance, and it gets kind of tiring to hear work-life balance at some point. But
It's so true,
and you don't have the days of the days of the boomers. They did it right, but a lot of them went to work for corporations and they did their time and they went home. And now you're into this Gen Z, the tail end of Gen Z and the millennials. Everyone's wanting to run their own business. No one wants to work for anyone. And you end up working all the time.
Exactly. That's, it's like you want to be your own boss. I think there's like a meme out there where it's like, I started my own business because I wanted to be my own boss and not clock in on a 9 to 5. And now I work 24 hours a day.
Yes, I've seen
So,
that.
but that's the truth. But again, it's just like that work-life balance. Like you want to be working all the time to say you're also like staying busy and stuff. But sometimes just like, I kind of learned how to relax a little bit too this year and how beneficial like rest is for productivity. Um, so that Sunday, that I kind of just shut down mentally and like block the world out and do my own thing. Like Monday, I'm way more productive on Mondays than versus the whole rest of the week. Not the whole rest of the week, but
You get like 3 days
you
of
need
productivity.
well, I mean, you need that time with your kids. You need that time with your family. You need that time to like bring the joy back into your soul after doing, crazy, labor intensive, insane work. So that's kind of my theory on it now.
Well, so I mean, I know we're getting in there and you've got stuff to do. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I do kind of want to pick your brain. We talked about it offline a little bit. Like, what do you think the industry as a painting contractor or refinisher needs to do to get more of the women that are side hustle furniture refinishing? How do we get them over into the finishing side? How do we open the doors to let them in and make them feel like they're wanted?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just, I really do think that having those female painters advocate and educate are really an amazing thing. Again, when I was kind of studying when I first started, I remember Corey Leister. She had that kitchen cabinet painting group I became a part of. I listened to every word she said. I worshiped her, studied, what she did, and she had laid out such a great so many great tools on, whether it be prep, whether process, pricing was a big one. Because again, it's just, I do see like a lot of finishers like me who start with furniture and then kind of transition there. But I think that what I've kind of tried to do is just educate. I know that, again, we talked about it a little bit, but sometimes I feel like, or I felt like the really successful painters would kind of hold their processes and secrets to themselves and not want to share them. So that's, again, it's just like I messed up a lot of stuff because I didn't, I asked for help a couple times and people say go kick rocks. But um, being open, sharing how to do things, why you do and do not things, what will and will not work. I think by building other people up, educating and teaching people the right way to do things versus, not sharing and, letting people run amok, that's only going to boost the community. I think that sometimes as painters, for me personally, sometimes you feel like the secondary, like, oh, it's just paint, it's just paint. But sometimes homeowners think that way. So I try to distinguish the difference, and make sure that I'm knowledgeable about the coatings that I'm putting on, um, how it's meant to go on, what it's meant to go on, because that just creates a value, kind of more of a value uh, for us. And yeah, I think that by educating people, it's only going to build up the industry. And the more people who are applying coatings the right way and putting out a beautiful
Yeah,
product, yeah,
exactly.
it's just gonna boost the community as a whole.
Yeah. I used to have people, okay, same thing. I mean, I think forever painting and finishing is because it's not a licensed trade nationally. I think it's part of the reason it gets a bad rap because anybody can say they're a painter by having a truck and a pair of white pants. And that's not the case. There's a skill level to it. And I used to tell people all the time when I'd go in and they'd be like, oh, whoa, why is painting that high? And I'm like, did you go to the parade of homes this year? And they're like, well, yeah. It's like, what was your favorite? Oh, this one house we went into, just the colors were beautiful, the cabinets. And I'm like, so the first thing you noticed was the paint? I'm like, so the first thing you notice when you walk into a house is how beautiful it's finished. But the last thing you think about on a remodel is the paint.
And how it's applied. Like it's crazy. You're 100% right, because people, I can't even tell you, like I'm such a weirdo now. Like I go to a gym and I'm looking at the machines like, how did they paint this? What kind of coating is this? But the world is made of paint, and that's something, it sounds so stupid, but it's like that's something I didn't realize before.
Everything is coated.
And again, it's people don't think about that. It's not appreciated in the proper way.
Yeah. I mean, you go into houses and you're like, it's great that you upgraded all your fittings on your plumbing to copper or this fancy connection style behind the wall. Nobody's going to see it. They're going to come in and see what coating's on your trim or how crisp that stain looks or the runs that are coming down your cabinets because you spent all your money on stuff behind the wall and not the stuff that everyone sees.
I know. Sometimes it's like, and then paint it again. It's like, I feel like sometimes with homeowners, it's kind of the last thing they kind of throw in on their budget. And I've had times where some people are like, okay, I don't have enough left to do my kitchen, so I'm going to do it myself. And I'm like, let me just do it. Let's figure something out. Not saying that they can't do it, but it's just, at the end of the day, I think you feel the same way. It's like you want your clients to have the most beautiful outcome possible and walk into a space that they love.
And they think about you, the person who did it, every time they walk in there. They're like,
I don't think they do. I think they think how beautiful their kitchen is, but, I don't want them to think about me, but I want them to think about their gorgeous, happy new space.
well, when someone asks, man, your kitchen's beautiful, oh, yeah. The experience behind it is huge.
Exactly.
The paint and then the experience that they got with you in their home, because you're a part of their family, let's face it, for a week,
Oh my
2
gosh,
weeks,
yeah.
sometimes a month. So, that matters.
Yeah, for sure. And again, that's something so important too. I always say I hate working on frames. I said, I know you're going to hate me towards the end of this, but I'll make this as quick and as the least invasive as possible. But that's another huge thing. Like customer service has always been like really, really big for me, and just building trust with people, because I don't really market. I don't really advertise. I do my social media, and I get business by word of mouth. So, there have been a lot of clients where, it's like I'll do their kitchen and then come back and do their doors and this and that. And then they, send referrals to a bunch of people. But again, remodeling is not fun for anybody. for anybody.
It's fun for the general contractor that rarely ever shows up, but that's about it.
Well, yeah, for the homeowner, it's a disaster. Everything's going wrong. There's too much going on at once. So I try to be like the happiest, least problematic portion of your whole experience.
That's a great experience. So before we finish her up, like, what about advice to anyone? I mean, wanting to get into the refinishing world, what's a couple pieces of advice you would give them?
I would say just do it. Don't be afraid of anything. Just try it. You're going to mess up. Things are going to go wrong. Things always go wrong, as you know. It's going to happen. Learn how to laugh through the absolute nightmares. And just don't be afraid of anything. I always say, do everything that you're afraid of, because there's no way that it's going to end up negatively for you, because at least you tried it, like you put your effort into it. And 9 times out of 10, it's like you're going to figure out a way to fix it and make it beautiful. But yeah, that's what I would say. I would just say, don't be afraid of anything. Believe in yourself. Sounds a little cheesy, but
No, I mean, that's good though. I mean, people need that. I mean, people need to hear you can do it. Just don't quit. Just do it.
yeah, just don't be afraid to fail, because most likely you're going to. Nobody's perfect. I'm not.
I
Sometimes
failed.
I have, oh my gosh, I think, I don't know. I remember when my pressure pot gun, sometimes the clips on the PPS system, one of them would break and the gun would pop off and there's a waterfall of paint going everywhere. And I remember back then I would cry. I would cry so badly. But now I'm just like, pick it up, fix it.
Let's get some towels. Let's clean it up. Yeah.
Prep the right way. You'll never have an issue
There
again.
you go.
But yeah, just learn how to laugh, I think.
That's a good one. Learn how to laugh. Yeah. At your expense. It's okay.
For sure. Because getting upset isn't going to get you anywhere, but further behind schedule, I think.
That's good. I like that. What about Cait outside of work? What's something that might surprise my community or our community about Cait?
I like to, I don't know, I'm kind of like a creative, I think in like a lot of aspects, but I like to cook. I don't know, what would be surprising?
What's a hobby you have outside of painting, outside of working too much?
I like working out. I'm kind of like I wouldn't say a workout junkie, but that's something that just kind of keeps me calm and centered. I love my dog. I think everybody knows that. I'm a little crazy dog mom. But yeah, no, I've had like a million careers, and I love makeup. I love science. I'm a science nerd, like the laser tech kind of aspect of things. And I think that's why I like coatings too, because there's a lot of science that goes behind it.
Yeah, there is a lot of science behind that. Yeah. I've got a tattoo on my a pinup tattoo on my calf that I got before I met my wife. I like to make that abundantly clear. And she's blonde, and my wife has never been blonde. And it just drives her up the wall. She's like, just change the hair color, get that thing removed.
Come on, just put a little brown or black hair.
Yeah, just change the hair color and we'll be good.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes brown, black. It changes back and forth. So, well, Cait, thank you for coming on. You did fantastic. It was great talking to you. I mean, great insights. As far as someone who's been in the business, you've got a lot of knowledge. A lot of knowledge for being in the business for 2 years. I think this was really awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Any last words of wisdom for our listeners out there? Final thought.
Final thought again, I think just don't be afraid to try something that you're not familiar with. And then keep watching this podcast.
There you go. Oh, give me your socials so everyone can make sure they're following you.
My socials, I think on everything, are Vintage Restored by Cait, Cait. I have that's another social media thing, but I have a TikTok that I don't really post on as much as scroll through late at night. But my Facebook is Vintage Restored by Cait, and Instagram is where you can mostly find me.
Yeah, we'll get it down in the comments of the podcast, so you guys can check on it. Make sure you're following them. I think that about wraps it up. I appreciate you coming on the Bearded Podcast, the Bearded Finisher Podcast. It was awesome. We look forward to maybe getting you on another episode in the near future. And everybody have a good day, and catch this episode coming out Monday.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the Bearded Finisher Podcast. We thank everyone for joining. Keep hustling, keep learning, and never settle for anything less than your best. Remember, the path to perfection is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.